Thanks again for tuning into Moonshine Gaming. Today we're going to be discussing the top 10 rarest and most expensive Nintendo Gamecube games. Now, as per usual, we have a few parameters we're going to be following for this list. We won't be including any case variants, demo discs, pre-orders, or bonus discs. So the Pokemon Coliseum pre-order and bonus disc will not be included in this list. We will, however, be including the Sega 2-packs. Now, I know this is 2 games in one, so I might get a little bit of flack for including this in the list, but they are some of the more rare games, so I'm going to include them in the list. We're going to be using North American complete in-box pricing for the prices on this list. So what this means is included in the price is the game box, game, instruction manual, inserts, and any other peripherals that were included with the game. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we've got Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. This is a tactical RPG that was released in 2005. The game is divided into chapters which consist of the pre-battle story, followed by the battle preparations, the battle itself, and then, providing that you don't die, the post-battle story. This is the standard layout for each chapter, and it stays this way through the whole game. The stories are told via still images of the characters, with what they say appearing as chunks of text below, kind of like a comic book. There's no voiceover for this, so you'll find yourself reading a lot in this game. A major and bold aspect of this game is that there's no option to move outside of the battlefield. You can't actually roam the world map or pretty much go anywhere except for the path that it's directing you. This makes the game exceptionally linear. Personally, I don't mind this too much, but there will be occasions when you wish that you could aimlessly roam around the world. Fire Emblem is definitely not a game for everyone, and if you don't like turn-based strategy games which make you think several turns in advance, then I'd probably pass. However, if you do like RPGs and you enjoy a nice challenge, then this is probably the best RPG that the GameCube has to offer. This game's worth $336. Next up, we've got Ribbit King. This is a sports game that was released in 2003. It's not exactly apparent from the title, but Ribbit King is in fact a golf game. Well, sort of. Actually, it's a golf game where the balls have been replaced by frogs, spawning the new fun-to-say activity of frolf. It's an odd concept, and the game has a pretty distinct charm to it, but it's not particularly difficult. The graphics neither look really good or run very smoothly. Though frolf is largely patterned after golf, it does take some pretty major liberties with the scoring system, even reversing some of the rules. And it streamlines the whole sport a good deal, toning down the importance of different clubs and gutting the concept of putting entirely. The actual launching of the frog is governed by a 2-click sliding power meter, 1 click to start the meter, and 1 click to determine the power of your shot. Ribbit King gets pretty far on a strange concept and weirdly cute characters, but the game itself doesn't really provide much lasting value. The simplicity of the play and cartoony presentation will probably make the game a good fit for younger gamers, but anyone else who's old enough to appreciate the game for its oddness will likely get bored after playing a few games. This game's worth $362. Next up, we've got Disney Sports Basketball. This is a sports game that was released in 2003. Disney Sports Basketball brings exaggerated moves and original locations to life as your favorite Disney characters take to the court. Mickey and his pals, who include Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and more, come together for 3-on-3 style basketball action with arcade-style gameplay. Choose your team and then take on 5 game modes, including Exhibition, Season, and All-Star Game, among others. If you can master the game's intuitive controls, you can take your team all the way to the finals and dominate 3 of your friends in multiplayer mode. The game is mediocre in every sense of the word. The AI is not great, and as an avid gamer, it was common to dominate the AIs by 30 to 50 points every single game. The graphics are colorful, character models are detailed, and the frame rate was surprisingly smooth. However, the camera angles during gameplay at times could definitely use some work. Also, the over-the-top play-by-play announcer can get quite annoying at times, and the music isn't that great either. Disney Sports Basketball arrives with the full Mickey Mouse cast, and the graphics are decent, but the play mechanics, while passable, are uninspired, repetitive, and downright boring. Kids aren't likely to appreciate the collaboration between mouse and ball, nor is it probable that they'll understand the mechanics of the special moves. With how shallow and slow paced this game is, it's probably going to be a pass for me. This game's worth $448. Next up, we've got Go Go Hypergrind. This is a skateboarding game that was released in 2003. Intuitively designed and visually distinctive, Go Go Hypergrind is a pretty interesting game all around. Brought to you by Atlas, Go Go Hypergrind is a skateboarding game based on the character designs from the same animator who actually animated the Ren and Stimpy show. In the game, Go Go Hypergrind is actually a new TV show currently in development by Spumco, and the various skaters are cartoon actors trying to get a shot at the leading role in the show. Controls are fairly similar to most other skateboarding games, with specific button combinations for air, flip, grind, manual, and lip tricks. The in-game effects round off the sound design nicely and feature some wacky cartoon-inspired effects that mix nicely with the various skateboard-centric sounds. Overall, the game sounds really great, but maybe a bit too grating if you can't get behind the extremely zany nature of the whole thing. The game's gimmick is very heavily geared towards people who like heavy doses of insane, gross-out cartoon comedy. However, that's not to say that the game doesn't have appeal beyond that gimmick. As a skateboarding game, Go Go Hypergrind is a simple yet effective piece of work. The game's heavily stylized visuals and sound definitely add to the experience. This is an entertaining skateboarding game that serves as a perfect alternative to anyone looking for a non-Tony Hawk skateboarding game for the GameCube. This game's worth $512. Next up, we've got Gotcha Force. This is a fighting / third-person shooting game released in 2003. Gotcha Force isn't the easiest game to describe. It borrows elements of Pokemon and Power Stone to create a chaotic collecting / fighter hybrid. While this may seem like an odd proposition, it actually works really well with this title because it adds an element of strategy to an otherwise simple game. In the game, you play as a child named Ku, and you find a Borg named G-Red who forms Gotcha Force. The Earth is being attacked by Gotcha Borgs called the Death Force. Allied by his friends, Ku counterattacks and aims to get rid of the menace known as the Death Force's leader, the Galactic Emperor. The controls are simple, but the combat is fast-paced and hectic. The graphics are solid, but the camera isn't great. This seems to be a common problem with a lot of games from this era. I found Gotcha Force to be pretty intriguing at first, but once you make sense of all the madness on screen, it loses some of its bizarre charm. What really hurts it is that the game never progresses beyond the simple battles. I never felt challenged, and after playing through the story mode for a bit, I felt like I had seen all there was to see in the game. Gotcha Force is a kid's title, and I think the concept is a good one. I think kids will look past the monotony and enjoy the pure fighting. However, where Gotcha Force falters is with its disorienting camera. Gotcha Force is a worthy effort for expanding the children game library on the GameCube. This game's worth $617. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. Next up, we've got The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker / Metroid Prime 2-pack. This was a double game package released exclusively in America for the GameCube that included The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker and Metroid Prime. The game was bundled with a GameCube console and was only available during the 2005 Christmas rush. The package came with 2 discs, and nothing within the 2 games was altered. There's not much to say about these 2 games, as they're both very incredible games, and both received scores of over 95 on Metacritic. It's kind of sad that this game was only released as a pack-in game with consoles, as I think it would have sold really well if it was available to purchase in-store. The only thing that separates this version from owning the 2 versions of the game separately is the cover art that contains the split cover. All the contents inside the game, including the game discs, instruction manuals, and inserts, are no different from the originally released games, so keep that in mind if you're searching for this game for your collection. This game's worth $623. Next up, we've got Cubivore. This is an action-adventure game that was released in 2002. The premise of the game is simple: eat or be eaten. In Cubivore, you'll assume the role of an animal in its early stages of development. From the moment the game begins, your creature is on its own to fend for itself. Explore a number of different environments while consuming other animals in order to evolve into one of 100 possible creature combinations. Ultimately, the goal is to become powerful enough to topple the alpha creature and earn your rightful place at the top of the food chain. Cubivore's main draw is actually the game world itself. Nearly everything truly is square. The sun and moon are cubes, and even the ripples you make in water when you walk across a creek are square. Each Cubivore is just a collection of different sized square tile limbs attached to a head. But it's incorrect to say the game has bad graphics, as no doubt some will say. While the animal forms in the environment themselves are primitive, the look doesn't come off as amateurish, but rather as a style decision. Cubivore does have a few flaws that will get in the way of your enjoyment of the game. Chief among these is the camera perspective, as per usual. Most of the time it's far too close, placing Cubivores that are in your pounce range completely off screen. Cubivore also has a problem with its difficulty. The game starts off fairly difficult, and when you approach the first boss you don't really feel like you're ready, whereas later in the game you feel like you're overpowered when you're fighting bosses. Although the game is plagued with camera issues and poor difficulty tuning, Cubivore is a very unique game with an incredible art style and slightly above average gameplay. An interesting combination of puzzle solving and action makes this game definitely worth checking out if you're looking for a game off the beaten path. This game's worth $706. Next up, we've got the Super Monkey Ball 2-pack. This 2-pack came with two standard Player's Choice versions of Super Monkey Ball and Super Monkey Ball 2. The most important and rarest part of the set is the outer cardboard box. The cardboard box is the only thing that separates this set from owning two Player's Choice versions of these games, and also the box was commonly thrown out by people when purchased, which makes it fairly uncommon. Super Monkey Ball comprises mini-games on top of the main game with over 90 stages. The graphics are nice and clean with vibrant colors, and the level environments look great, with wave and reflection effects perfectly simulated, and everything runs at an impressive 60 frames per second. The music is catchy, and the cute monkey noises will put a smile on the face of players young and old. The game is played by tilting the floor, which may seem odd at first, but after a few plays, it'll start to feel more natural. The perfectly calibrated analog stick on the Gamecube controller proves its worth as you roll and bounce around the levels like a natural-born monkey ball roller. Although the game can be extremely difficult at times, Monkey Ball 1 and 2 are great games that show off the GameCube's graphical abilities whilst being one of the most fun multiplayer party games available. Because of its arcade roots, this makes Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 great pick up and play games. And if you've never checked them out before, they're definitely worth playing. This game's worth $757. Next up, we've got the Sonic Adventure 2-pack. Similar to the last entry, this 2-pack came with two standard Player's Choice versions of Sonic Adventure DX and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. As stated before, the most important and rarest part of the set is the outer cardboard box. And again, there's nothing special about the games inside, making the outer box the only thing that separates this set from owning two Player's Choice versions of these games. As far as Sonic Adventure DX goes, it's great that Sega decided to bring the original Sonic Adventure over to the GameCube. And their addition to some new content is commendable, but it's incredibly disappointing to see that they didn't clean up some of the game's major problems. So it basically comes down to this. If you own the Dreamcast version of Sonic Adventure, you're probably better off sticking with that, but if you've never played the game before, definitely worth checking out on the GameCube. Although I don't really recommend picking up this 2-pack due to its insane price tag, you're probably better off just buying Sonic Adventure DX by itself. Moving on to the second game of the 2-pack, Sega has often been accused of straying too far from what made Sonic the Hedgehog so endearing to fans, which is arguably one of the biggest criticisms of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Luckily, enough of what makes up this remake is still entertaining, and the enhancements and additions in multiplayer should keep diehard Sonic fans happy. While Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is definitely worth playing, there still is a very problematic camera, and Sega's insistence on giving characters voices and trying to shoehorn in as many different gameplay mechanics as possible are all downfalls to this game. This game's worth $1,272. Next up, number 1, Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire. This game was released on July 11th, 2004. In North America, it was only available at the Pokemon Center in New York City, or it could be special ordered online. At the time of release, its retail price was a measly $20. The game came in a large cardboard box similar to the last 2 entries on the list, and included was the Game Boy Advanced link cable, a special Ruby and Sapphire memory card, the game itself, and instruction manual and inserts. Pokemon Box itself isn't so much a game as it is a storage system for trainers' Pokemon. Trainers can store up to 1,500 Pokemon in 25 boxes that hold 60 Pokemon each and can trade between Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and Fire Red and Leaf Green. All of the Pokemon can be stored on the included memory card, requiring the full 59 blocks for saved data. One cool addition to the game, if you can call it a game, is that you'll get eggs when hitting certain milestones of how many Pokemon you have stored. One of the better eggs will give you a Pichu who knows Surf, which will be rewarded after storing 1,499 Pokemon. During the adventure mode of the game, it allows you to connect your Game Boy Advance and play Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire on your GameCube. You're able to turn off your Game Boy Advance while playing this, which is great, as it'll help conserve the handheld's battery. Keep in mind though, this mode will not work with Emerald, Fire Red, or Leaf Green. It will only work with Ruby and Sapphire. With its limited release, this is a very cool piece of Pokemon in GameCube history. This game's worth $1,750. And that's going to do it for the video. We hope you enjoyed the top 10 rarest and most expensive Nintendo GameCube games. And don't forget to subscribe to Moonshine Gaming for lots of awesome video game content. We'll see you next time. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, you might like these.